Welcome to Headline Lies with Alexis Knight. I am Alexis Knight. In today's media landscape, headlines sometimes, maybe often, serve as the primary source of information for many people out there, maybe you. However, these headlines can be misleading, omitting critical context or presenting information in a way that skews perception. This series that I do on this podcast, Headline Lies, aims to dissect these kinds of headlines, revealing the underlying truths and the nuances that are frequently glossed over, and it causes major outrage, concern, and confusion among the public trying to defend things that we care about, fight for things that we want to have happen, and then when we put all our energy into something only to find out it was a complete lie. That's devastating to many Americans out there right now, and it's getting really confusing to try to figure out what's true and what isn't. So let's start with headline number one, and this really goes across many media platforms, many news companies, but here's the headline we're going to look at today. It says, CNN, the most trusted name in news. Okay, so this headline suggests that CNN is a paragon of journalistic integrity, delivering unbiased and accurate news to the public. It tells us that if you're watching CNN, it's credible and you are safe. The news is unbiased and it is a professional source in a sea of chaos. The adult network, so they say, the smart one, the one you could trust. And hey, what did people hear? Well, they heard, and this is for all headlines, I'm not picking on someone, this is happening across all news media, by the way. We're talking about this headline, though. So what people heard when they saw this is that unlike Fox or maybe Newsmax or some YouTuber, right, working in their basement, CNN tells it to you straight. It's all facts over fear, truth over drama. That if it comes from CNN, it must be real. But all right, let's look at the real story here. And again, I cannot stress this enough. All media channels have this problem. But CNN I picked because they are extraordinary in how many daily lies they have. So this one stood out as we reviewed the different channels as the one that needed the most attention. Okay, because what is the real story here? CNN has built its reputation on calm, suited anchors and sleek graphics, but that doesn't make it honest. In fact, some of the most manipulative media tactics hide behind a nice, polished delivery, again, across many media outlets. While everyone points fingers, though, at Fox, right? CNN's biggest weapon is being subtle, okay? So that you don't really notice. And I wanted to point this out because this is very psychological and a lot of people don't see this happening. They have strategic omission of facts. They select the outrage they would like to call upon and bring in. And they have this illusion of neutrality. Like they just don't take a side, as all media outlets like to tell us. But let's rewind. In 2016, CNN contributor Donna Brazile leaked debate questions to the Clinton campaign. This helped them prepare for nationally televised situations. That's not commentary. That is sabotage of public trust and the entire situation. CNN quietly cut ties, right? But the damage was already done. Again, very subtle. They cut the ties. Now in 2019, these are just random examples, guys. Nick Sandman, a high school student, falsely painted CNN as smug and racist in a viral protest video. Now, they filed a defamation lawsuit. Why? Well, because CNN pushed the narrative before facts. The network did ultimately settle, reportedly for millions. But again, it was very subtle. You might not even know about it. They didn't announce it. There was no apology. And like all things these days, no accountability. And then let's bring it to even closer here. 2021, the network spent months pushing that Jussie Smollett story. Remember that thing as a hate crime. right? No evidence, only to have it completely unravel into a hoax, which hopefully you kept track of and saw that. And when it came to the COVID lab leak theory, CNN initially dismissed it as complete conspiracy nonsense. But then later, they did have to admit that. And the way they did it, again very subtly, well, it might be legit, they said. The fact-checking did not age well, did it? No, it did not. CNN does not need to fabricate facts, okay? All they do is craft the narrative around it. I can't tell you guys enough, this is psychology being used on all of us on a daily basis, all in the name of clicks and profits. They control the frame, they control how urgent the story is and how it is presented to you and the context it is in. They're going to run a headline that's technically true, right? So that if you try to look into it, you're like, oh, that's legit. But then they tell it in a way that is very misleading. But you're not picking up on that part, not all of us, because we're running wild with these weird stories and lies, and it's not even true. Now, what we're looking at here is a journalist's version of gaslighting. And that's really the only way I think I can say it to you guys to help you understand what's going on here, because it's happening to you. It's already happened to you today. All right. Example, well, look at what they did in 2023 after a protest turned violent. They flat out said, and I mean, if you didn't see this, this was everywhere, really. This is a quote, fiery, but mostly peaceful protests. That was insane. I mean, excuse me, there was literally a burning building behind the reporter who's saying that, but that's how great they are. People didn't complain about that, not all the way. They just believed this guy. That is how much they're in your head. I mean, people might have questioned it, but they believe the reporter over anything else they see. Okay? America is no longer trusting what they're told. That is why I'm doing this podcast. If you are still trusting what you're told, you really need to listen to Headline Lies. And if you're behind, go catch up on the ones I've already done. I released them all last weekend. Get them again. Okay? Left, right, center. I don't care where you think you are. Nobody trusts anything. Everyone's suspicious. And what are these parties anyway, really? I mean, give it up. I mean, because even when the smart networks, right? I call them smart, are caught spinning stories. I mean, the whole house of cards collapse. What do you have left? So, is CNN the most trusted name in news? That's not a statement. It's a slogan. That is part of a brand, guys, a product label. It means as much as maybe me saying world's best coffee, okay? And if you believe blindly, you're not actually watching the news, you're watching theater, okay? That's all I can tell you, and I tell it to you every time. And again, this is not a pick on just CNN, this is everyone. But I can tell you that they won as far as how many times they spin the facts. You think they're telling you the truth until they start talking and bring in all the guests, and that thing morphs into something else entirely. All I can do is bring this to you and tell you the truth. And with that, let's move on to headline lie number 2. This thing has been floating out here. It's a sensitive issue, just like the one I just did. But again, I've done the research. We have fact-checked. And this is something that I just need to share with you guys, this headline, whether you like it or not. And it says, Biden's debate performance was strong and commanding. Love or hate the guy, love or hate his opponent, that's not what we're doing here. Is that headline true? Because what it told you is that President Biden delivered a powerful, confident performance in the debate, that he held his own and proved the doubters wrong, and reminded America that, hey, he's still got it. What people heard when they saw this, and when this was spread everywhere, was that Biden silenced the critics, that the whole cognitive decline talk and discussion was unnecessary, overblown, that he was sharp and clear and presidential, and that's it, case closed. The problem, though, wasn't that Biden stumbled once, okay? It was that he stumbled constantly. I am being delicate here with the facts. He did have slurred words, frozen pauses, unfinished sentences, eyes drifting, responses that did not land. And behind the scenes, leaks emerged that White House staff had been managing his schedule around moments of clarity. Not what day of the week it was or what was going on. No. And still, though, media outlets like CNN, like others, like MSNBC, they ran with headlines that painted his performance as forceful. They used the word forceful and resilient. Think about the word resilient. That's what you call a guy who mumbles through key policy points. Again, I'm being gentle here. Go back to the footage. This is a question. What were they watching exactly? Because what millions saw was a man who looked very tired, disoriented, and at times lost. And people were concerned for a man in his elder years being used in this way, and that is also fact. There is compassion. But, we're talking about the commander-in-chief. This is not theater. This is national security at the end of the day on a world stage. The deeper truth here, the Biden camp has been and had been strategically shielding this guy from live press. Count the number of times he was in the public eye and how long he was there. I am not making this up, whether you like it or not. That's how it is. These are facts. And what's hard is once the brain has its head all wrapped around something and I come in and blow it up like this, it's really hard to accept. And I get that. But all I can tell you is these are facts. This guy was under careful management for interviews. He did have very minimal appearances. Even foreign leaders reportedly commented on his fading sharpness. And yet, though, after the debate, the spin machine turned on. Automatically, right? But why? Because the alternative is terrifying. And who was really running the show here, right? For Democrats in the country, that would have been scary. Admitting cognitive decline means questioning the whole operation. Who is running the show? Who is writing the script? Who is making the calls? And if you haven't heard, they are questioning why Biden's signatures for 99.9% of them are all auto-penned, which is not okay for the president under certain conditions. That's being questioned right now. So like that or not, something's going to happen there. So, is it a lie to say that he performed well? Flat out lie? Not exactly. It's actually kind of worse. It's willful distortion that we saw. It's ignoring the obvious to protect an image. And when the media plays along, they're not really helping, they're hiding. And to me, this was actual elderly abuse, watching this happen and looking into it more. I cannot believe it was allowed. The fallout of all of this, in America, voters are now deeply unsettled, especially with the talks of what happened in the White House, why the auto pen, and where was President Biden. Polls show a spike in concern over this and Biden's fitness. Even long-term allies, they're quietly panicking. What's going on and what happened during that presidential term? Because the truth broke through the narrative here, and the spin just wasn't strong enough to cover up all of this time. Biden was there, and he didn't look great. He was struggling as an elderly person, and then he vanished. Our president was not there, and people were concerned. And in this kind of case, when everyone can really see it for themselves, aside from those that are still in the gaslit situation, it gets very concerning. And this is what happens when you lie for too long. Eventually, reality walks on stage and it blows up everything. And we really haven't even seen anything about this yet. But again, they're looking into it, and it's something we're not going to be able to ignore. All right, let's move on to our third headline. Again, it's very sensitive this Friday but we have to talk about it, okay? Our headline number 3 today is Mass Layoffs Spark Fears of Economic Downturn. And what does this headline say to the average person? That widespread job cuts across industries are igniting concerns about an impending economic crisis. And nobody wants that. What people heard is that the economy is teetering on the edge and that these layoffs are the harbinger of a recession. But what is the real story behind all of this? And before I go any further, let me be crystal clear. This is not about tariffs. All right, while some job cuts are tied to the international trade shifts going on and reshoring strategies, that is not what I'm talking about right here. I'm talking about the layoffs that have nothing to do with tariffs and everything to do with the mess these corporations created for themselves. This, my friends, is what corporate cleanup looks like. It's post-pandemic bloat correction. It's automation, it's optics, it's investor pressure. A lot of things go on that you don't hear about every day, and we assume one thing. There's more to the story, guys. Always. There's always more going on behind the scenes. This is the fallout of years of reckless overhiring. You heard me right. Bad forecasting and the cult of growth at all costs. Because it's image again. We had to look like we were hiring and everything was great. And look at everybody now. Maybe people got jobs and bought houses. You can't blame the tariffs for this. This was a situation where corporations bloated. And the people getting laid off, they are now in the consequences. It's not cool, but this is the truth. During the pandemic, companies panicked. They expanded like wildfire, something you might not have considered. Everyone was hiring, okay? Amazon, Meta, Google, Salesforce. I mean, maybe you were one of the people that went to the liquor store more often and hung out with Netflix and thought the world was doing the same, but that is not what was happening. Why, though? Why did this go this way? Well, because tech usage surged. Right? E-commerce exploded during that time. Remote work boomed, and the future looked digital and endless for that matter. But it was not endless. Growth plateaued like it always does. Demand normalized like it would. And now these same companies are quietly walking it back, allowing you to think probably that it's all tariffs. I am here to tell you the truth. Believe me or not. They're cutting the very people they once scrambled to hire. And that's not very fair. No one's getting the straight answer here why they're getting laid off, and we're dumping it in one bucket, tariffs. I can't be more clear. This is companies hiding behind the tariff issue, letting something else take the blame here. Here's the dirty truth, guys, okay? These layoffs are not coming from financial ruin. They're coming from profit. Can't be more clear. Most of these companies, they're still making billions. They're slashing jobs not because they have to, but because Wall Street wants them to, okay? And if you can't get your head around that, again, I'm just here to bring you the truth. Investors want efficiency. Executives want bonuses. And shareholders want the stock to pop. So the solution? Cut payroll, cut fast, cut deep, and make it look strategic, or simply let the world blame something else. Meanwhile, the media sanitizes everything, right? It's restructuring, it's strategic realignment, efficiency-focused transformation. Ooh, there's some words for you. But no, that's not it. This is just job loss, okay? This is simple job loss that no one saw coming, that companies knew would happen someday. That's it. The company that you're upset about, that you got laid off from and you're blaming tariffs, no, your company knew all along you probably would not be there. People being dumped over email. This entire thing, all right? Teams being dissolved overnight without you knowing, behind the scenes, many of them Loyal employees with very high performance, excited to work, now completely blindsided by a plan that was always there. And to be clear here, though, this is not just tech. It's hitting media, finance, logistics, even healthcare administration. And not because the economy is imploding. That is another thing we can just take off the table. They're going to let you believe it, but I'm telling you, that's not it. That's not all of what's going on here. This is all because corporate culture is shifting. They're shifting into their own survival mode, guys, before the storm hits, whatever that is going to be, right? Some of these companies are pre-laying off in anticipation of market uncertainty. So they're pre-planning for something to happen, and if you got laid off, that's your consequence of their fear. Others are cutting middle layers because they're making room for AI automation. And if you haven't heard my podcast on AI, go look that stuff up because, again, I could not be more clear on what AI is doing, where it's going, and what you need to know. And some companies are just cleaning house, okay? Because the old growth model, it's kind of dead these days. But what is this not, okay? It's not a collapse. It's not all doom. And it's certainly not your fault if you're sitting at home thinking that. The media, remember, they love you being afraid. Afraid to spend your money, afraid to move, afraid to question anything. Fear is a business model too. Please take that with you today. And when you're afraid, you're much easier to control, so they love that. Don't fall for the headline spin, guys. It's wrecking lives. This isn't just about losing jobs. This is about how they're being lost and why you're losing jobs. They're not telling you the truth. They're letting you think something else. Be angry over there. Don't blame me, the wonderful company that knew I would fire you the day you were hired, is basically what it is. We're watching it all reset, guys. And when you see that clearly, you'll stop panicking and being angry, and you'll start preparing for your future and what the future's going to be. And what happens next? It's not just economic, okay? This is psychological, and I talk about that a lot in Headline Lies. Psychology is being used on us every single day. When Americans see mass layoffs splashed across every news feed, the instinct is, of course, fear for all of us, me included. Tighten spending, freeze hiring. You question your future. But here's the thing, that fear multiplies faster than any virus ever could, really. And once it spreads, it starts shaping realities. Small business owners delay their growth. Entrepreneurs, they shelve their ideas. Families cancel their vacations. People stop taking risks. They stop living. Fear contracts everything. Take a look at your own life. And when the fear narrative is based on a lie or even a half-truth, that is where the real damage starts. And let's be honest, when billion-dollar companies lay people off to boost their stock price and the media calls it necessary or maybe efficient, who is the lie really protecting? You gotta look at this stuff. It's not the worker, it's not the public, it's protecting the boardroom like it always does. This is why we call it out. Because when the truth gets buried beneath corporate buzzwords and fear-based headlines, someone has to pull the lie into the light, and that's me. You don't fix a system by pretending it's broken beyond repair. You fix it by understanding what's changing and why. And the people out there, all of us, all of you, we need to stay smart and aware. You stand up, you adapt, and most importantly, stop falling for the script. It's playing out over and over again on a daily and minute-by-minute basis. And people just roll into it one after the other without questioning a thing. That's why we have Headline Lies. Just like with this story, just this one, the economy is not collapsing. But in this story, the truth is collapsing. And until someone starts telling it straight, these headlines are going to keep feeding fear, disguised as facts. Mass layoffs are very real, but the fear around them is manufactured. And okay, what did we learn today? Well, the truth in headlines, that is optional. That's something we learned. That omission is the new deception, right? And that media spin has become so normalized, most people don't even notice it anymore. You could think I'm lying to you right now. Not so. From legacy outlets calling weak performances commanding, to corporate layoffs being sold as economic genius, to fear-mongering headlines that leave out the entire story. The lie isn't just what is said, okay? It's not that they are flat out telling you a lie every time. It's what's sold, how the whole thing is packaged, and definitely who is profiting off of your confusion. But here's the thing. You guys are smarter than that. We're Americans. Let's get this. You're done being dragged by clickbait, aren't you? And manipulated by polished anchors, pacified by half-truths, dressed up like their analysis. I mean, you're not here for a side. You're here because you want to know what is real. And that's why this podcast exists. Headline Lies. It's not to make you afraid. It's not to push an agenda of any kind. It's to give you back your own discernment, to help you see through the fog. Because the moment you start asking the right questions, those lies are not going to work anymore. So just don't listen. Instead of listening, think for yourself. Don't just read, dig around. Is it true? What is the truth? Because that is the world we're living in now. Lies are overtaking truths out there. AI is generating headlines every second for you to click on. And these accounts are anywhere in the world. It's automated. No one can track it. All right? Don't ever let a headline decide what you believe. How about that? That's as simple as it is. Don't let a headline decide what you believe or know. That's all I can say. This has been Headline Lies. I am Alexis Knight, and I'll see you guys in the next Headline Lies. I do these on Mondays and Fridays. Go ahead and look them up in the podcast. I just ran them all last weekend. Very interesting stuff, okay? We got to do these because someone has to keep the story straight. Talk to you guys next time.